Good morning and welcome to this 16th day of September. Well, it's a very sunny day in Brisbane with 18 degrees and it is looking very, very sharp and crisp out there. Well, today in this segment we have local updates, plus we have the Daily India Report brought to you by PIO TV, exclusive for Australian Indian radio telecast. Well, right now, let's join our Prime Minister as he talks about the deal on the nuclear submarine.
Well, good morning from Australia. I'm very pleased to join two great friends of freedom and of Australia, Prime Minister Johnson and President Biden. Today, we join our nations in a next-generation partnership built on a strong foundation of proven trust. We have always seen the world through a similar lens. We have always believed in a world that favours freedom, that respects human dignity, the rule of law, the independence of sovereign states and the peaceful fellowship of nations. And while we have always looked to each other to do what we believe is right, we have never left at each other. Always together, never alone. Our world is becoming more complex, especially here in our region, the Indo-Pacific. This affects us all. The future of the Indo-Pacific will impact all our futures. To meet these challenges, to help deliver the security and stability our region needs, we must now take our partnership to a new level. A partnership that seeks to engage, not to exclude, to contribute, not take, and to enable and empower, not to control or coerce. And so, friends, AUKUS is born, a new enhanced trilateral security partnership between Australia, the United Kingdom and the United States. AUKUS, a partnership where our technology, our scientists, our industry, our defence forces are all working together to deliver a safer and more secure region that ultimately benefits all. AUKUS will also enhance our contribution to our growing network of partnerships in the Indo-Pacific region. ANZUS, our ASEAN friends, our bilateral strategic partners, the Quad, Five Eyes countries, and of course our dear Pacific family. The first major initiative of AUKUS will be to deliver a nuclear-powered submarine fleet for Australia. Over the next 18 months, we will work together to seek to determine the best way forward to achieve this. This will include an intense examination of what we need to do to exercise our nuclear stewardship responsibilities here in Australia. We intend to build these submarines in Adelaide, Australia, in close cooperation with the United Kingdom and the United States. But let me be clear, Australia is not seeking to acquire nuclear weapons or establish a civil nuclear capability. And we will continue to meet all our nuclear non-proliferation obligations. Australia has a long history of defence cooperation with the United States and the United Kingdom. For more than a century, we have stood together for the cause of peace and freedom, motivated by the beliefs we share, sustained by the bonds of friendship we have forged, enabled by the sacrifice of those who have gone before us, and inspired by our shared hope for those who will follow us. And so today, friends, we recommit ourselves to this cause and a new AUKUS vision.
I'm delighted to join President Biden and Prime Minister Morrison to announce that the United Kingdom, Australia and the United States are creating a new trilateral defence partnership known as AUKUS, with the aim of working hand in glove to preserve security and stability in the Indo-Pacific. We're opening a new chapter in our friendship, and the first task of this partnership will be to help Australia acquire a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines, emphasising, of course, that the submarines in question will be powered by nuclear reactors, not armed with nuclear weapons. And our work will be fully in line with our non-proliferation obligations. This will be one of the most complex and technically demanding projects in the world, lasting for decades and requiring the most advanced technology. It will draw on the expertise that the UK has acquired over generations, dating back to the launch of the Royal Navy's first nuclear submarine over 60 years ago. And together with the other opportunities from AUKUS, creating hundreds of highly skilled jobs across the United Kingdom, including in Scotland, the north of England, and the Midlands, taking forward this government's driving purpose of levelling up across the whole country. We will have a new opportunity to reinforce Britain's place at the leading edge of science and technology, strengthening our national expertise, and perhaps most significantly, the UK, Australia, and the US will be joined even more closely together, reflecting the measure of trust between us, the depth of our friendship, and the enduring strength of our shared values of freedom and democracy. Only a handful of countries possess nuclear-powered submarines, and it is a momentous decision for any nation to acquire this formidable capability, and perhaps equally momentous for any other state to come to its aid. But Australia is one of our oldest friends, a kindred nation, and a fellow democracy, and a natural partner in this enterprise. Now the UK will embark on this project alongside our allies, making the world safer and generating jobs across our United Kingdom. Thank you.
There you go. That deal, the tri-nation, Australia, UK, and the US on the submarine. And of course, as it was mentioned in the report, that the submarine will not be armed with nuclear weapons, rather powered by nuclear reactors. So, there is lots of talks on social media, which I've seen after this posting, and a lot of people are complaining and condemning the nuclear power there. Well, right now, let's move on and let's go state by state and see what's happening. First up, let's go to New South Wales.
Good morning, everybody. It's pleasing to be out at Kudos Bank Arena today, a vaccination hub where over 210,000 people have been vaccinated in New South Wales. And pleasingly today, our state hits the milestone of 80% first dose vaccination. An incredible milestone given the journey we've all been on, and I can't thank the community enough for responding in such a positive way for our calls to get vaccinated. In terms of double dose, we're up to 47.5% of our adult population being completely vaccinated, and of course it's that number we're looking to allow us to have those freedoms at 70% double dose. So we're at 47.5%. and inching ever so closely to that 70% double dose figure. But to reach our first dose of 80% is a huge tribute to everybody in the community, and some of our communities in Western and Southwestern Sydney have vaccination rates closer to 90%. Just an outstanding result compared to where we've been and where we are today. Pleasingly, we know that if this trend continues, once we open up at 70% double dose, that first dose rate will be high enough for us to feel confidence that we won't overwhelm the hospital system and that we'll enjoy those freedoms as we're all looking forward to. Regrettably, community transmission had 1,259 cases yesterday, and 12 people lost their lives, and we extend our deepest condolences to the families of those loved ones. But I also say to keep your family safe, please follow the health orders. Don't give up, don't be complacent. We know it's been a stretch, we know it's been a struggle, but there's only a few weeks left, really, before we get to that 70% double dose. And in particular, I do want to thank all those communities of Western and Southwestern Sydney. Minister Lee is here from the seat of Parramatta, representing one of the communities of concern. And as a community...
So, reaching the target of 80% of at least the first jab there, well done. And that's a great news there. But we know that Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews was quite upset at the number of vaccine that was supplied to New South Wales as opposed to Victoria. But here's a report from him.
I am pleased to be able to confirm that thanks to the great work of the Shepparton community, and looking out for each other, sticking together, getting tested, getting vaccinated, staying at home and isolating away from others. They've done an amazing job, and now 3 days with no new cases, Shepparton will be able to join the rest of regional Victoria and be open with those limited opening settings from 11:59 p.m. tonight. That is a credit to the people of the Goulburn Valley, and I send my best wishes and my thanks to each and every one of them. They've done an amazing job. In less good news, we have a number of cases and a number of wastewater detections in the Ballarat area, and from 11:59 p.m. tonight, Ballarat, the city of Ballarat, will have to go back into a lockdown for 7 days. The Chief Health Officer will speak to the logic behind that and the epidemiology behind that. What I want to say to the people of Ballarat is, just like the people of Shepparton, I know the people of that proud city will stick together, they will look out for each other, they will support each other, and we will be there to support them. There will be, and Jerome will speak to this, there will be extra testing. It's still symptomatic people and people who have been to exposure sites. We're not moving to asymptomatic testing at this stage, but we will expand sites, we will expand operational hours, we'll make it even easier to go and get tested. We're also going to have additional vaccines go into the Ballarat area. They are right on the 70% single dose already. We want to use this 7-day period to vaccinate as many people as we can beyond that, and Jerome will be able to speak to some of that today. Some of those details won't yet be finalised until tomorrow. This is essentially, as the Chief Health Officer can take you through in more detail, if we have cases get away from us in any one part of regional Victoria, then it will ultimately compromise all of regional Victoria remaining open. This is not the news the people of Ballarat want to hear, and it's not the decision that we wanted to make. But if we allow it to get away from us in one part of regional Victoria, it becomes a threat and a risk to all of regional Victoria. We simply can't have that happen. Shepparton shows you that a community can be locked down, can stick together, can be supported and deliver fundamental control of an outbreak. We know, and we're very confident that that's exactly what can happen in the Ballarat community, but the alternative is to let it run, and then we finish up in we have no choice but to, not today, but perhaps in a week's time, we have to close all of regional Victoria because cases have got away from us, and there are patterns of movement. Ballarat is not a community that's shut off from everybody else. People move to different parts of regional Victoria, they move to Melbourne. Those patterns of movement would mean the virus would hitch a ride and potentially, if unchecked, spread right throughout regional Victoria and compromise the very low numbers of cases in regional Victoria right now, which is why there are some, regional Victoria is open, albeit not fully open, but certainly more open than metropolitan Melbourne. We have to safeguard that low virus status and those settings.
And safeguard is the right word, and of course there's some good news, and of course the next lockdown in the regional area as well. But right now let's go to ICT to get their report.
I can report 13 new cases overnight, 8 linked as close household contacts, and the remaining cases are under early investigation. 5 of the 13 were in quarantine during their entire infectious period, and so 8 have spent part of their infectious period in the community. In good news, the number in hospital has dropped to 7, and there is 1 person in intensive care requiring ventilation. Yesterday, 3,311 tests were conducted, so thank you to everyone who came forward for testing. This continues to give ACT Health a very good level of surveillance on where the virus is at in our community. Yesterday was another strong day for vaccination. Over 4,000 doses were administered in ACT government clinics. Now, 61% of those were first doses and 39% second doses, reflecting the pattern of vaccination at this time. Today we will reach 75% of the population aged 12 and over with at least 1 dose of a vaccine. This number will continue to grow in the coming weeks, with around 70,000 people still waiting on a first dose through an ACT government clinic, and there will be tens of thousands more who will receive their first dose through a primary healthcare provider, either a GP or a pharmacist. Soon, though, we will have administered first doses to everyone who wants one. And then the balance of the vaccination program will shift to second doses, and it will significantly pick up pace. More than half of the ACT population aged 12 and above have now received 2 doses of a COVID vaccine.
So more than half have received the 2 doses and about 75% have received at least the first dose. Well, right now let's go to South Australia.
Adelaide couple Riley Toole and Jess Wood have been stuck in a Broken Hill caravan park for 5 weeks. Jess sustained a painful injury while camping and she's desperate to get home.
We're all sick of it. Everyone is sick of waiting and waiting, checking emails, checking missed calls, anything, and every time we check, we're always disappointed.
There have been 40 cases recorded in Broken Hill in this outbreak, among them a 13-year-old girl who's been transferred to an Adelaide hospital along with her COVID-positive mother. SA Health says she's being treated for a non-COVID-related illness. Meanwhile, New South Wales authorities won't confirm whether the one new positive case recorded today came from the caravan park, where many are awaiting approval to enter SA.
They need to rest assured that if they've not been contacted by public health, that they're okay.
There are thousands of cross-border applications in the SA Health system. About 200 of those are being processed each day.
Every application does need to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, so the team have certainly increased in size. We have our new exemptions portal.
There are a lot of people who have applied to come into South Australia who chose to leave during the current New South Wales or Victorian outbreak and are now seeking to come back.
As those hoping to get into SA wait, Labor's questioning why interstate workers are being given exemptions to assist on the Gawler Rail electrification project. It says the government's pushing for the project to be finished before the next election.
There can't be one rule for some groups of workers and a different rule for others.
SA Health is very alert to the issue of conflict of interest, so we are not giving special favours to state projects.
The Health Minister says the exemptions are being managed in the same way as any other. Isabel
From there, well, right now it's time to go to our Daily India report. And with our Daily India report, which is sent to us by PIOTV, and it is a wonderful report put together. So with that, let's welcome to Nikita.
Welcome to the Daily India report that brings you glimpses of the changing India and the growing engagement of the Indian diaspora with India. In our first story, a major terrorist module has been busted by Delhi police in the Indian capital. Terrorists aided and abetted by Pakistan were planning blasts across India during the upcoming Hindu festival season and in UP state as it prepares for state elections. In a massive anti-terror operation, the Delhi police on 14 September 2021 arrested 6 terrorists, including 2 trained in Pakistan, to avert orchestrated terror attacks planned across India. It is learned that attacks were planned for Delhi, Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh during the upcoming festival season. Delhi Police's special cell said it busted the terror module in a multi-state operation over the last several days following inputs from the central intelligence agencies. Special Commissioner of Police Neeraj Thakur told a press conference that it was the busted module had a nexus between Pakistan's ISI and the underworld. The accused were receiving instructions from across the border. Thakur said the module was planning to target crowded areas in Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra during Navratri, Ram Leela and Diwali celebrations. He did not rule out plans to carry out blasts during political rallies during the upcoming Uttar Pradesh elections. 2 of the arrested were conducting the reconnaissance of locations in Delhi and UP for placing the IEDs. An underworld operative, Sheikh, close contact of Anis Ibrahim, brother of Dawood Ibrahim, was given instructions from Pakistan to ensure smooth delivery of IEDs, sophisticated weapons and grenades to different terror groups across India. India rebutes remarks on Kashmir by UN Human Rights Commissioner.
India has expressed disappointment over the unwarranted remarks by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet on India's union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Bachelet was making opening remarks at the 48th session of the Human Rights Council. Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs Reenat Sandhu rebutted on 14 September saying Bachelet's remarks do not reflect group reality. Further, the Indian official contended that issues of upholding human rights must be addressed in a transparent and impartial manner, anchored in respect for national sovereignty and non-interference in internal affairs of states. India feels that Bachelet ignored growing rights violations in neighboring Pakistan. Bachelet said the use of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act throughout India, including Jammu and Kashmir, is worrying, as well as the restrictions imposed in the state. Sandhu said that India has been at the forefront of global action and discourse on promotion and protection of human rights and will continue to do so. She said India is seeking re-election to the Human Rights Council for the term 2022 to 24 and looks forward to the continued support of the UN member states to India's candidature.
India is not only expanding exports of agriculture products from Africa, but extending cooperation to set up agri-processing across the African continent.
India has entered into important agreements with Malawi and Mozambique for import of pulses to meet growing domestic demands. Also, India is negotiating MOUs with some other African countries for the import of pulses. Addressing the India-Africa Agriculture and Food Processing Summit, Indian Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan said India is always ready to share its experience and the expertise of flagship programs with African partners such as Soil Health Card Scheme, per drop more crop for the efficient use of soil and water in agriculture production. India is establishing the India-Africa Regional Soil, Water and Tissue Testing Laboratories in some African countries. The Indian minister said Africa has abundant land for agri-production and India would like to explore the opportunity to invest in this area that will create large-scale employment, rural income and move countries up the value chain through agro-processing facilities. India's private sector has already started investing in the agriculture in several African countries. On the economic front, India is the fourth largest trading partner for Africa, registering $69.7 billion trade with the continent in 2018 to 19 and has become the fifth largest investor in Africa with a cumulative investment in the US $70.7 billion. The duty-free tariff preference scheme announced by India has benefited African nations by extending duty-free access to 98.2% of India's total tariff lines.
US auto giant Ford Motors will stop manufacturing cars in India.
American auto giant Ford will close down manufacturing in India after accumulating operating losses of more than $2 billion over the past 10 years. India will close down less than a year. The company said it would shut 3 plants in Brazil where it had operated since 1919. About 4,000 jobs will be lost in India, according to Ford filing on 9 September with the US Securities and Exchange Commission. New CEO Jim Farley had literally said right after he resumed office in 2020 that the company look at operations in countries with fast-growing economies that had been expected to drive sales for the Detroit automaker. Ford recorded nearly $1 billion non-operating write-down of assets in 2019, according to the company. The production of cars in India for sale in the country is ending immediately, and Ford will wind down production at Sanand, a vehicle and engine assembly plant with about 3,000 workers by the fourth quarter. Vehicle and engine manufacturing in Chennai, which employs around 5,000, will end by the second quarter of 2022. Parts, service and warranty support in India will still be available. Ford said, and the company will continue to operate engineering, technology and business segments in India. Ford Motor Co. will begin importing vehicles like the Mustang Coupe in India. It will sell off current inventories in India of its Figo, Aspire, Freestyle, EcoSport and Endeavour models.
Indian origin Tanzanian tells the story of that country's freedom struggle from British colonial rule in the film Tug of War.
An Indian origin Tanzanian filmmaker Amil Shivji, who grew up watching Bollywood movies, has released the East African nation's first ever adaptation of a Swahili literary work about Tanzania's struggle for freedom from the British colonial rule. The film, titled Tug of War, is part of the official selection at the 46th Toronto International Film Festival that began on September 9th. The film is adapted from a famous novel of the same name by celebrated Tanzanian writer Adam Shafi. It is a love story of a young revolutionary and an Indian origin runaway bride set in the backdrop of the resistance movement in Zanzibar in the 1950s. Shot in Zanzibar, an autonomous archipelago in the Indian Ocean lying close to mainland Tanzania, Tug of War is the second feature film of Shivji, a fourth-generation Tanzanian whose ancestors first arrived from Porbandar, Gujarat. The film, part of the Discovery program of the Toronto Festival, had its world premiere on September 13th in Canada's business capital that boasts of a large South Asian diaspora. In adapting a Swahili novel, Shivji attempts to reclaim and retell the history of the freedom struggle from the people's point of view. Tanzania gained independence from the British in 1961. Shivji, who grew up in the Tanzanian capital Dar es Salaam, says that Zanzibar was the biggest market for Hindi cinema outside India in the second half of the last century. Bollywood still plays a big role in the culture of the island, which has a very strong Indian community.
Bollywood film Shiddat is a love affair with a twist. Starring Radhika Madan and Sunny Kaushal in lead roles, the movie will release on OTT platform Disney Plus Hotstar on 1st October.
The trailer of Dinesh Vijan's latest romantic drama Shiddat was dropped 14th September. The film is another love tale but with a twist. Feel the power of love, wrote Radhika Madan, lead actor with Sunny Kaushal, as she shared the trailer on social media. Shiddat, which translates into passion in love from falling for someone, the epic first kiss to parting ways and long-distance phone calls. The twist is that Radhika is engaged to be married to not Sunny. Story begins as the characters Kartika and Jaggi in the city of love and romance, Paris, followed by a complicated love story. After a lovey-dovey first half, the latter part of the Shiddat trailer dwells on Jaggi's personal struggle to convince Kartika that they can find a way to be together despite her impending wedding. Also in the movie are Mohit Raina and Diana Penty, whose characters represent a married couple. The Shiddat trailer shows a glimpse of Kartika's wedding day, making viewers wonder if she really did get married to a fiancé. The Shiddat trailer ends on a filmy note with a phone conversation between Jaggi and Kartika, which he says they are made for each other. Shiddat releases on 1st October on Disney Plus Hotstar.
That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report. Thank you for watching.
And thank you, Ankita, and of course the PIO TV team for that update. Well, next up we will have at 10 a.m. we'll have the 48th episode of the weekly travel updates with Tanvi Goyal. So until then, it's goodbye from this segment. We'll catch you up on that segment at 10 a.m. Until then, be good, remain safe.